So Boker Tov, good morning, and welcome back to Sunday morning coffee and Torah learning and coffee. In fact, let's bend down over here because of the rain. The setup is a little different. Rain is a blessing, and let's say a bracha, let's say a blessing. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Shehakol Niya Bidvaro. Very good. So, today is Mother's Day. You've all heard this statement plenty of times. I'm sure that in Judaism, Mother's Day is every day. But nevertheless, let's today talk a little bit about mothers from a Torah and Kabbalah perspective. As mothers are the most important in our life and in our life's development, etc. So we'll talk about it from a Kabbalah perspective, and with God's help, we'll be able to bring across the point clearly and in a way that we could relate and deepen our appreciation for our mom. So I want to start today by first sharing a very, very popular song called Ayida Shemama by the greatest chazan, cantor of all times, and I will do so by playing. And I think when you record on the phone, you can't really play music from a different app and to be live on Facebook. So I bought a speaker out here, and we're going to play a song by Yosler Rosenblatt called Ayida Shemama. So bear with me, because this is one of the all-time greatest songs with hands down the greatest chazan cantor. And maybe I don't want to interrupt the song, but once in a while I'll give a little translation of what he's saying, and then we'll move on with the class. So I'm going to give the go-ahead to my producer over here, my Yiddish mama, actually not my mama, but my wife, the Yiddish mama of many of my kids and grandkids, and here we go. I hope you can hear. I'm going to put the volume a little louder.
Ich will bei euch a Kasche fragen, sucht mir wer es geht. Mit welcher Teiere vermegen, Mensch Gott allein. Me kauft uns nicht für keine Geld, das gibt mir nur im Sinn. In doch als man verliert zu Zeug, wie Tränen man vergisst. Als zweite gibt man keinem nicht, es hält sich kein Gewinn.
Yosef is repeating the question over here. What is the most dearest thing in a person's life? You can't buy it with money, but it's the most precious thing, and you never get another one. Whoever lost it knows what I'm talking about. And here goes the famous part.
Es gibt nicht besser auf der Welt. Ayidische Mame, oi baby, bitter wenn sie fällt. Wie schön lichtig ist ihr Haus, wenn die Mami sucht. Wie traurig ist der Wert, wenn Gott nimmt dir auf Eulam Habon. In Wasser, in Feuer, wollt sie gelaufen vor ihr Kind. Nicht halten ihr Tag, top, as Hashem matune geschenken Gott, nor ein altes jüdische
Okay, so I see someone asked, what is this song called? I see Mr. I think Wexler asked. Well, thank you for the question. I like getting questions, just letting you know. So that song is called A Yiddish Mama. It's probably the most famous Yiddish song about a Jewish mother. And as the song goes, My Yiddish Mama, the lichtig, how bright it is it when you have her, how bitter is it when she's gone. And it's a very, very beautiful song if you understand Yiddish, and if you want to know the lyrics, I'm sure you can find it as well. And it's from Yossele Rosenblatt. Yossele Rosenblatt is the most amazing cantor of that we have on tape. I mean, he passed away, I believe, in the 30s, I think, and he just had a real. He has an amazing voice, but an amazing personality. If you read about him, which makes his voice even more beautiful. And so this song, Ayida Shemama, you could find it on Google Play. You could find it on Spotify, other music. If you type in Ayida Shemama, Yossele Rosenblatt, you'll find it. So that's the song we played today, honoring all the Yiddish Mamas and all the Yiddish Abubas. So I want to talk a little bit today. So we said it's a Kabbalistic perspective. So you know, whenever you try to give over a Kabbalistic idea, it could get a little complicated. It could get a little difficult. So bear with me, and again, as with Hashem's help, we'll try to give over this idea. Because when we say a Yiddish Mama, what does it mean, a Yiddish Mama? How do we define a Yiddish Mama? What's unique about a Yiddish Mama? All mothers are special, but nevertheless, we have the Yiddish Mama. So let's start from a Kabbalah perspective, and then try to bring it down into reality, into down to earth, as we're having. I hope you're sitting with your cup of coffee, but and enjoying. As I usually say, the Torah learning of Sunday is not one of these quick 1 minute let's go quick classes. It's sit down, relax, enjoy. Let's develop an idea over here. So a Kabbalah perspective. Let me back up and explain a general idea, and then we'll move our way as to explaining the Kabbalistic perspective of a Yiddish Mama, and then the reality on the ground, taking the mystical idea, which is usually what Kabbalah is about, and bringing it down to earth. So let's talk about this. There is the opening phrase of the Torah is Breshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, which means in the beginning. Right? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That's the first verse in the Torah, in Genesis. That's how the Torah begins. Comes the teachings of Kabbalah, Hasidus, the Maggid of Mizrich, and says the following. The Maggid says, Breshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning, God created et, the heavens and the earth. Grammatically, the Torah could have written Breshit bara Elokim hashamayim v'aretz. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Why does it say in the beginning God created et hashamayim ve'et haaretz? So for those of you who went to Hebrew school and you remember your Hebrew letters, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Aleph. The last letter of the Hebrew alphabet is a Tuf. Okay? What does this mean? It means like this. Breshit bara Elokim et. Full stop. In the beginning, God created et, the Hebrew letters, Aleph through Tuf. Those Hebrew letters, its shape, its numerical value, its name, Aleph, Beis, describe the different energies with which God went on to create everything we see in the world. So everything we have in the world, whether it be a stone, whether it be a wood, whether it be a tree, whatever it is. It is a combination of different letters, and in fact, the name of something, the Hebrew name of a letter, is not just a name because we had to give it some sort of label, but the name the Torah gives to something is actually the energy, the godly energy that sustains, that brings that object into creation and sustains it throughout. Verstehst? I hope you understand. If you understand, if you verstehst a little Yiddish, give us a thumbs up. So that's the Hebrew letters. Aleph through Tuf is all the Hebrew letters. Now, God's name, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'haaretz, and then we have the name which is a Yud, a Hey, a Vav, and a Hey. Kabbalah, especially the teachings of the Arizal, tells us that everything in creation flows through these four letters, the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey, which is God's name. It's the highest of God's name, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey. Now, when we have creation, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, the Yud of the name, there's the Hey, there's the Vav, and the Hey. The two Heys, you with me? The two Heys of the letter of God's letter both represent the feminine, the woman, the feminine, and so on, within spirituality, within holiness, because the woman here below, the Yiddish mama, represents the spiritual feminine. In fact, in the beginning, when God created man, Adam was comprised of the two, as we know, and then God separated the feminine from Adam and created Chava. So Kabbalah, the Arizal, tells us that the two Heys of God's name is what represents the feminine. So listen a little further. What is it that the first Hey and the second Hey represent? So the first Hey after the Yud represents the seminal idea. If we use the intellectual analogy. So the Yud represents the seminal idea, which is called in Kabbalah Chochmah. Please bear with me. If you're lost, let me know. But the Yud represents the seminal idea, and then the Hey represents what we call Bina understanding. Understanding, articulating, getting it. The seminal idea is sort of that flash, but then you have to get it. The getting it, that represents the Hey, where you articulate the idea, you develop it, just like you have biologically, you have what the man gives, and then you have what the woman develops till birth. In fact, the Talmud says that Bina Yesera or Bina Yetera Nitna Ba'isha, Yoter mi Ba'ish. That a woman has an extra degree of Bina, she has an extra degree of understanding the idea than a man has. We'll explain that practically soon. So that's the first Hey. The first Hey is the Bina level, which it receives from the Chachma, but it articulates it, develops it, and understands it, and so on. Then you have the Vav. We won't talk about that right now, again because of the limitation of time. But just briefly, the Vav represents the other the other six Sfirot. Just trust me on this, and don't get lost. And then we have the final Hey, which represents Malchut, which represents royalty. The final Hey again represents the woman that has a degree, which represents royalty. The Shekhinah, the divine presence in this world, is also represented in the Hey. Let me explain this a little bit more. So even if you're lost until now, I think you could still jump onto the wagon. Okay? I hope you're all still with me. Now, let's take a little drink over here. Shkoyach, thank you. Now let's go a little further. So we have over here the woman. We said that she's Bina and she is Malchut. Let's explain that. Let's articulate that. In Kabbalistic terms, Malchut, royalty, as let's say exemplified by King David, on the one hand represents leadership, on the other hand represents true humility. So Malchut, from a Torah perspective, is a person who has the gift to be able to receive God's kingship, and from there it should shine throughout the people. What does that mean in Kabbalistically, as we're talking about a mother, a woman, and so on? So I want to give an example. Shabbat is also considered the queen, because Shabbat is where all the hard work of the 6 days all comes to fruition, but on Shabbat it's all taken in and raised. Broadcast. Sorry for the interruption for a quick moment. I apologize. So on Shabbat, what happens is, let me make sure this doesn't happen again. I don't know why that happened. Okay, on Shabbat, we all come together. It's all taken in. And Shabbat also receives from the higher level of holiness that comes on Shabbat, and it spreads it forth for the entire week. So this is the Kabbalah kernel over here. I want to say another point, and then we're going to bring this all together. And again, when people hear Kabbalah, they get a little nervous. So we'll bring it all together. There was an article, and this I saw this written up by a very fine woman, Sarleia Crisp, I think is her name, Rebbetzin Crisp. She's a wonderful speaker, and she talks about an incident where she was sitting. She's a writer, she's a lecturer. You could look up her name. She's excellent, and she talks about an incident where she was sitting and writing an article, and her child came up to her crying that. Has a stomach ache, and the mother says, "Wait a minute, don't you see I'm busy? Wait for a moment." And after the child is nudging for a while and saying, started crying, whining, she's busy. She says, "Wait a minute, I'll be." She loses her patience. The child walks away and starts to cry, and then it hits her and she says, "I realize that there's more important things in life." She closes the computer, whatever she's doing, and she comes over to her child. She says, "I'm really sorry. I know your stomach is hurting. Tell me, sometimes we get a little distracted." She apologizes to her kid, and she soothes and calms her kid down, crying because the child has a stomach ache. And then she says the following. She says that she saw an article in the New York Times where a woman writes that she's only part mother. And therefore, there's things that she needs for herself, etc., and then she's part mother. And Rebbetzin Crisp takes issue with that, and she says, look, while it's absolutely important that sometimes you need time for yourself, and you have your career, and you have your job, and those things are all important, but you're not part mother. You're not part mother, you're all mother. You're all mother. And she draws upon that the Torah refers to Chava, Eve, the first Jewish woman. The Torah says, why is she called Chava? Shehi hoisa ein kol chai, because she was the mother of all of living things. And she was called that even before she had a child. Because the gift of feminism, the gift of a Yiddish mama is that she can be totally selfless and devoted to others. In motherhood, it expresses itself, of course, in being a mother to the children, but in general, the feminine aspect and talking about what we spoke before, being malchut, having the ability to go ahead and take in and having the understanding and wisdom of taking in whatever the spiritual forces, the ideas, right? In fact, let me interrupt myself. She goes on to say something nice also. She says, the Torah says, Shehi hoisa ein kol chai. She was the mother of all of living things. So she says an additional nuance, which is nice. You could put the comma after kol. She is ein koil. Ein koil means she's all. You could also interpret not only as the mother for all, but also all mother. So here I'm going to try to bring this all, down to practicality and what this is all about. The woman is the hay of understanding. She is able to, and I see this in my own marriage. Baruch Hashem, I'm so fortunate that I have a Rebbetzin that is I would say superhuman. I could never do what she could do, never. on average, her day begins at 6:30 and doesn't finish till 11 o'clock, and she's non-stop busy. She's a full-time teacher and mother and grandmother and so on. It's absolutely amazing. There's like an inner strength there. Now, where does this come from? So here we have this discussion over here. We have the hey, this is the initial understanding that the woman has. What does that mean? That means that she knows how to take in all this information, the chachma, the spiritual chachma, but she knows how to understand it in a way that she could then take it and pass it on in the proper way. She could filter out that which needs to be filtered and nurture. It's almost like the example that the Gemara gives, that the husband was the one who went out to the field and would plow and would sow all day, would come home, and the wife was the one that would grind and feed the child. The analogy over here is the husband is maybe the one who does the acquisition, acquiring, the bringing. But who is the one who could really discern what is good for my family and what's not good? Who has a real much better perception, understanding of that, and could take it in and then develop it and refine it? That's the mother. And that's the malchus aspect as well. True leadership has to have, which, as we said in the beginning, the second hey represents leadership. Leadership means that you could go ahead, you could take in everything that comes your way, in this case, Kabbalistically speaking, the 4 sefirot, which is all the emotions, but then you could go ahead and properly nourish and decide how to lead your family, how to bring them up to a higher level, how to bring them up to a proper level, how to really impact them. So this is the 2 hays. And this is why in Malchut it says true Malchus, true leadership. And I know we're living in a time when there's a lot of discussion and disagreement of leadership and who is the right leader and so on. True leadership has to have humility. Why? Because true leadership is about being, we're talking about Ein Kol Chai, is about being all leader. You are totally, completely dedicated to those who you lead. Dictatorship is about you. You have subjects that are there to make you better or to make you more convenient, to provide for you. Leadership is about really inspiring and uplifting. A real leader is one who recognizes your qualities, your talents, and brings out the best in you, and at the same time does whatever is necessary for your well-being. That's true leadership. So, a Yiddish mama is, as the Torah says, Em Kol Chai. There is nobody more dedicated to the well-being of their children and grandchildren than a Yiddish mama. You know, you could be part writer, you could be part manager, or have the fantastic career, which is all good, but you're not part mother, just like you're not part pregnant. You're all mother. That doesn't mean that sometimes you have to let your child develop on their own and you have to keep a distance. Fine, that's all because you're there for your child. But a Yiddish mama is one who's Ein Kol Chai, who has these attributes of Bina and Malchut, and is totally there for their family, for their child, for their children, with complete dedication. And there's nobody that does it better than a Yiddish mama. There's nobody that's a better foundation of the home, of the family, and imparting the values of our parents and our grandparents and the values of Torah, true healthy values in raising beautiful families, than a Yiddish mama. And therefore, we, every day of the year, I would even go a step further in Judaism, to give recognition to Mother's Day, since so many are celebrating Mother's Day. In Judaism, no holiday, and I will say a Yiddish holiday, lahavdil, is only for that day. What do I mean? In other words, let's take Rosh Hashanah. The symbol of Rosh Hashanah is not about just one day of the year we make God as king. We say Avinu Malkeinu, our Father, our King. Rosh Hashanah is the energy for us to go ahead and learn and accept and acknowledge God as our King and take that energy for the entire year. So I would say And I say lahavdil to separate from a Jewish godly holiday and Mother's Day, which is a wonderful day, that if the point of it is just that you should take your mother out to your restaurant today with social distancing or whatever way you celebrate, go sit in the backyard, and it's today and tomorrow I forget about her, then that's not a Yiddish way of celebrating. It's not a Jewish way of celebrating. So if you are going to take today's day and say, let me focus today on how to better my respect, my appreciation, my dedication to my mother and grandmother for the entire year, then you're on the path of celebrating it in a Yiddish way. And just to end off this discussion in on a lighter note, I remember hearing this years ago. I think it was on WINZ. I don't even know if they exist as a station, a radio station. WINZ. I think it was 940. They were the main news station here in South Florida, and they quoted this statistic. They said that the day that this was before even smartphones were around, and they said the day where the most phone calls happen in the United States was on Mother's Day. But listen to this: the day where the most collect calls happen in the United States was on Father's Day. So I guess we recognize the different roles of our mothers and our fathers. Maybe it should help. May Hashem help that if you are blessed that you have a mother, may you be blessed so for many, many, many years to come. Gesundheit and Freiligkeit. And if you are blessed with a bubby, with a grandmother, how much more so? That's a tremendous blessing. And may we, as I just mentioned, take this day to further appreciate and show appreciation for our mamas and for our babas. So I think we're gonna, instead of starting another subject, I was maybe gonna do Pirkei Avot, but I think we'll leave it at this. We'll keep it shorter today. Everybody should have a wonderful rest of the day, and das is das. Happy Mother's Day.